Going on, everybody? Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Viall Files Bachelor in Paradise Recap Edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by Allie and Amanda in studio. And our loving and lovely guest today is none other than my girlfriend, Natalie Joy.
Our loving and lovely.
Yeah, it just came out that way. We are calling from none other than Auburn, Alabama.
War Eagle.
The home of Natalie Joy. It's my first time in the place of her
Birth.
Is it? Yeah. This is
No,
where
I
your
didn't.
formative years were.
Yeah, I wasn't born here, but I did move here at 1. So
At one. She took me to an SEC game. Lovely time. It was nice. I mean, I'll be honest. Everyone told me you got to go to an SEC game. It's crazy. As someone who's from the Midwest, who's been to Big Ten games, who's been to Packer games, it was an awesome time. But like, I feel like the people in the SEC feel like they're doing something a little bit more different and a little bit more intense. And I'm just here to say it was another lovely and, enthusiastic.
I'm going to cut them off and say that that's the only reason is because we've only won 3 games. It's also the week before Thanksgiving, so everyone went home for Thanksgiving. So
I mean, the Packers are doing terrible. And if you show up to a game at a tailgate,
I don't know. I think it would be a little wonky.
Anyway, War Eagle, everyone, from Auburn. It was a lovely time. But ladies, how are you?
Good. We're holding down the fort.
Yeah, I'm so good. My mom was in town, so I'm like glowing. My room is clean. My backlog of laundry is done.
Her boyfriend is back.
My boyfriend's back. Everything's looking up for me.
Stocked.
Yes. Oh, fresh. I have organic berries in my fridge. I never buy myself organic fruit. So shout out to Karen. And I had some really good restaurants in LA. Now I feel like I actually have recommendations for people. I feel like usually when people are like, oh, where should I eat? In any given city, I panic. And now I've got some ready to go suggestions.
The Dunkin' Donuts Twitter tweeted yesterday, PSA, don't meet your ex for coffee over Thanksgiving. And someone sent to me, and I couldn't help. And then I tweeted someone from Dunkin's reading, don't text your ex happy birthday. Do you think they did read don't text your ex happy birthday? Or is it just a coincidence?
It's that time of year where the exes start popping up. And especially if you're going home and it's someone from like high school or someone who lives there, it happens.
So you're saying the person who's managing Dunkin' Donuts social didn't have to read?
You weren't
Don't
the first
text your-
person to say
Wow.
that.
Unfortunately, yeah.
But what I will say,
Come out of the
What a
woodworks.
supportive team. What a supportive
no,
team.
Nick, I'm coming to your defense because we don't know the influence of culture where there could have been a conversation sparked about exes by someone who was reading your book, and then they had that conversation with
Yeah.
all their friends, and then
Someone's
that person
like,
talked to that.
how about Dunkin' Donuts and coffee? And you know what's the same as wishing your
Somewhere
your
a
ex a happy
butterfly
birthday?
flapped his
Right,
wings,
this is the
and
butterfly
now-
Thank you,
effect.
Amanda. Thank you, Amanda. Natalie, Allie.
We'll see ourselves out.
With lots to get into. Before we get into the fun stuff, talking about the finale of Bachelor in Paradise. Also, I think there's some Love is Blind drama to first discuss. But we wanted to draw some attention to the very ugly and very unfortunate situation that's going on in Iran. And simply because I just think more than anything, no one's really talking about it, relative to the other things we talk about that are going on around the world. And obviously we have our own problems here at home and things like that. But for those of you who aren't aware of what's going on in the situation in Iran, Amanda, can you please update our audience?
Absolutely. So I would say the event that made these protests and these underlying frustrations that Irani women have had with the government and the general society came to a head when Mahsa Amini, who is an Iranian woman who was 22 years old, was taken into custody by the morality police. This is a force in Iran who is meant to...
That's a real thing, yeah. It
Yes.
sounds ridiculous, but it's a real thing, the morality police.
Yes, and they're there to enforce Iranian code, one of which involves women covering their hair and wearing a hijab. So Mahsa was traveling to Tehran, the capital of Iran, and was taken into custody for allegedly not wearing her hijab properly. She was taken to a re-education center, which is where the morality police can take women to re-educate them on the standards and expectations. These are places that are incredibly unmonitored. These are run by the government. It is a really scary place to be taken for women. And Mahsa died while she was there. The Iranian government leaked videos and claimed it was an underlying health condition, or they published videos rather, showing a woman collapsing. Many people think this was blatantly fake, and also because of some of the images that surfaced of Mahsa in the hospital, like many people believe this was an act of brutality and that she was beaten to death. So this has sparked protests around the country. In Iran, women are expected to wear a hijab and cover their hair. So in some ways, there's very intense influence of Muslim rule. But there's also more than half the university students in Iran are women. So this is a country where women are educated, where women are at the forefront of many different industries and have been able to achieve a high level of success for themselves. But that is with this sometimes stifling expectations and rule on them. And so now there's protests that are everybody is outraged by the senseless, probably murder of Mahsa, but also all of the other women who are routinely subject to dehumanizing behavior. And if you're wondering, it's of course, with any political situation, there's so much more context and background than you can possibly fit into a short kind of recap like this. But basically, these protests have been going on since September. You might see women cutting their hair or burning hijabs in the street as an act of rebellion. And many of these women, they're protesting for the choice. They're not saying that no Muslim woman should be wearing that. They're just saying that this should be an individual decision and not something that is mandated violently and violently enforced by the government. And so if you're wondering, kind of as a woman in the US who's maybe just learning about the situation or what to do, I think it's always best to go directly to the source. There's some amazing Irani journalists and Iranian American journalists who are covering this. And so in addition to kind of seeking out some of those directly from the source information, which we can totally post on Wi-Fi Instagram. If there's many also human rights organizations who are helping support protesters. And another thing that I saw that I hadn't been aware of before, so I want to spread the good word, is that we can also pressure universities in the US to support academics, whether that's waiving the admission fee or just making sure your university is aware to, again, platform the people who are most aware of the incredibly nuanced situation going on there.
Yeah, and is it true? I mean, haven't they detained over 14, 15, 16,000 people?
Yeah,
protesters.
Yeah, so the government. So if we want to get into protests, the government has been trying to very violently quell all the protests that are happening around the country. It's not just in Tehran, the capital city. These are going on in such a small scale level in more remote cities and villages. And the government has used a lot of very violent suppression tactics. And so it's pretty nasty.
I thought I read something about potential mass executions going on. Is there accuracy to that? Or, I mean, because
I think it's really hard to know. We definitely know that there's protesters. It's hard to know the scale. We definitely know that there is protesters who are being murdered. We know that there's very in addition to being murdered, there's violent tactics being used to try to suppress them that are causing harm, not necessarily death. So it's there's a atrocious scale to the situation. But again, because of the way the government can sort of try to control and censor the media and the reporting on this, and also the danger of journalists trying to come forward or anybody coming forward and sharing the situation that's going on, they're not only putting themselves at risk, but their family at risk. So it's really hard to know the scale of this due to, yeah. And
to your point, Amanda, I think mostly what I think in these times, people are always wondering what they can do. But more than anything, I think awareness is a key thing. Just if sharing, any type of journalist who might be covering this. Yashar Ali on Twitter covers it very closely. He's Iranian. But yeah, honestly, just resharing, posting about it, just bringing attention to it, I think more than anything. And putting pressure on these obviously people or countries who are violating people's basic human rights, I think is a great place to start. If you do nothing, do that, and I think hopefully that will go a long way, because it sure sounds like some very horrific atrocities are happening, and certainly we talk a lot about our rights in this country, and those are important, but people are potentially being murdered and assaulted and beaten for some very basic
expressions
rights.
of personal freedom. Yeah.
I just want to acknowledge the bravery and strength these women and people in Iran have to get up and protest, knowing that they're either going to be detained or murdered, but they're doing it for their people and the people after them and the generation after them to try and like change this law. It's
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's some true bravery that is going on. I think these people need all the support we can give, and we certainly, at a minimum, need to acknowledge that it's going on and not pretend that it's not.
Totally. And I think sometimes with situations like that are so complicated and nuanced and where there's so much context and history that's relevant, it can feel kind of intimidating or overwhelming, like even jumping in. I found like an episode of The Daily from the New York Times interviewing Farnaz Fasihi that came out on the 28th, an Iranian uprising led by women. That was a really helpful starting point for me. But even if it is intimidating, like just try doing a quick Google search, going on Instagram, TikTok. Like there's all these amazing creators. Of course, be discerning about who you're getting information from. But like it is worth jumping in. You can totally understand it. It's accessible, and it's worth taking the time to do it.
And some more exciting news. Greg and Victoria will be on the Viall Files next week, Tuesday, for our first freestyle episode of the season. So as you guys know, in the last Bachelor off season, we just kept cranking out episodes. We'll still be covering like your most recent Bachelor tea. Obviously, I don't know what's going on with Love is Blind, and it'll be a lot of pop culture freestyle episodes usually if we don't have an interview. But Greg and Victoria will be in studio for our first freestyle episode. Lots to talk with them. Like what happened? Why should people believe in their relationship? What's different about this relationship versus her and Johnny? I certainly want to get a lot more information about this timeline. I want to know what was talks about their relationship, specifically her and Johnny. So certainly a lot to get into. Katie Maloney is with us for Going Deeper on Thursday. Also on the Greg and Victoria episode, it comes out Wednesday, but if we get it done in time, we might drop it on Tuesday. So look for it potentially sometime on Tuesday if we can get it up in time. And then, Katie Maloney on Thursday for Going Deeper. Don't forget to send in those questions. Ask Nick at castmedia.com, cast with the K. If you are stuck in a situationship and you can get the person you're in a situationship with to call in, let us know. If you need help breaking up with someone, if you're not sure if you should get out of your relationship and you just need to figure it out, we're here for you. Anything else we're missing, Amanda?
If you went on an atrocious date and you just want to tell the story.
Yep.
Let us know.
Get it out there.
We'll listen to
your
you.
Bad dating stories or
us.
bad breakup stories. Any book club updates, Allie?
I'm always updating with new cities. You can go to our Instagram. It's under the little story highlight. You can see the Facebook links. Also, you can just type it into Facebook, DTYEHB Book Club - any of the cities, or if you just want to see if there's one in your city. Always expanding, always adding. But Instagram's probably the best way to see the most updated ones.
All right, now that we covered all that, let's get into the Love is Blind most recent drama between Raven and SK. When it comes to choosing a wireless plan, you're forced to compromise. But what if you didn't have to? What if you could get reliable service without a contract and save money? Introducing Total by Verizon, a new no contract, no credit check carrier for you and your family with plans starting at just $30 per month on America's most reliable 5G network. Sacrifice nothing, experience everything. Total by Verizon is available at totalbyverizon.com and at retailers nationwide. Based on first place rankings and Root Metrics first half 2022 5G assessments of 125 metros. Experiences vary, not an endorsement.
We love a sweet treat. We love some high quality yummies, especially around the holidays. Milk Bar is already, hopefully, your go-to spot for birthday celebrations. Their funfetti cake situation is absolutely divine. And now they have all these incredible seasonal holiday options.
Their Milk Bar pie even.
Oh my God,
Great.
They sent it to us. It's so good. I told my roommates, I was like, please share this with me because I'll eat all of it immediately.
I'm bringing it to a little friends get together on Friday. I'm not a baker, but they don't need to know that. I'm just going to show up. It's the most generous gift you could bring.
What would Friendsgiving be without amazing desserts? And we don't even want to know. This year, celebrate your friends with epic cakes, fudgy cake truffles, and oh-so-good seasonal pie.
It's a tasty new tradition everyone will love. So all your non-bakers out there, if you want to wow your friends or yourself with some amazing desserts, think of Milk Bar. Just in time for Thanksgiving, for a limited time, Milk Bar is offering their delicious new pumpkin milk bar pie, apple cider donut cake, and apple cider donut truffles. You can also get your hands on their seasonal Lab Drop pumpkin coffee cake, made in limited batches straight from their experimental kitchen. It's never too early to plan ahead. Place your order today to secure your treats and reserve your desserts in time for Thanksgiving. But if you waited last minute and need desserts stat, they also offer fast overnight nationwide delivery. So right now Milk Bar has a special limited time offer. Get $15 off any order of $80 or more when you go to milkbarstore.com/VIALL. You'll get $15 off an order of $80 by going to milkbarstore.com/VIALL. That's milkbarstore.com/VIALL.
Some SK and Raven drama. So I was trying to take some pieces together and really figure out the exact timeline of everything that was happening in terms of, we're going to get into it, a TikTok being posted with some allegations about SK cheating, Raven's initial response, then Raven and SK's actions taken on Instagram, ending up with their final breakup statement. So there's definitely some different components to the story, but this all started when these cheating rumors came about. So this woman, Hannah, posted a TikTok saying that she and SK actually met in 2019 and became friends and started dating. They would go to weddings together. They would travel together. In 2021, he invited her to Europe for a trip, and she wanted to send herself some of the photos that they had taken on his phone and saw that he had some text messages from a contact that was named Fiance. She asked him about it. He said it was for a show and that they were doing it for money. And she said, well, if it's all fake and if it's just for money, I feel like I should meet Raven. And he agreed to that. So she ended up following Raven on Instagram and liking a few of her photos because at this point she thought, Raven and SK were just friends and just doing it for the show. Then Raven sent Hannah's Instagram profile to SK through DM and just said, who is this? And he told her, I told you I was going to handle it. So clearly,
said this to who?
To Raven. So Raven sent Hannah's profile to SK of, who is this? She's now liking my photos, blah, blah, blah. And SK.
And all this information is coming from who?
From Hannah, the woman who was
Hannah,
dating
okay.
SK.
So this is all coming from this Hannah person.
Yes. And then SK responded back to Raven saying, I told you I was going to handle it. So clearly not the first time they had talked about Hannah. Hannah then invited SK to Cabo in May 2022. So it's like a long-term relationship, whether it's, committed or not.
What receipts do we have?
So she posted in the TikTok, every time she would post a photo, she would include in the screenshot, like, how you can see the date on top in your photos album. So there was dates attached to all of the kind of Europe photos. She attached screenshots of him asking, have you seen my orange silk shirt? She then attached a photo and said, I took this photo of him. She then attached a photo of her in the same location. Here's the orange shirt in question. So there was text messages of them going back and forth planning trips, accompanied by photos of them on these trips with locations and dates geotagged on them.
She posted all these receipts?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the orange silk shirt, really. I never thought that would be such a key piece of evidence in something. Like the number of times this shirt was photographed.
It's a game of Clue.
About.
You find the orange silk shirt in the library.
SK with the orange silk shirt
with
in Europe.
So I've talked to some people very close to the situation.
Okay, cryptic
feet on
and
the ground,
fun.
so to speak. feet on the ground. In these situations, like obviously, with Bachelor Nation, we've dealt with stories like this in the past of exes coming forward. I generally receive that information very cautiously. I just think there's a lot of potential clout chasing in general in these situations. Now, that's not to say this Hannah person is lying. I don't know. I haven't even seen the receipts. And I will say, as I heard the story from the kind of the peripheral, I thought to myself, what if this is just a fake story? When I mean a fake story, I mean, what if SK and Raven were just kind of faking this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like we all know that Love is Blind, they film way in advance. I think the Love is Blind Chicago and the Love is Blind Dallas were filmed rather close to each other. Yep. And then, last year they aired Chicago. Now this year they're airing Dallas. And so all this time goes by while these people are kind of just sitting on their hands waiting for these stories to be told. And meanwhile, they kind of have to live their lives. And so we watched SK and Raven break up at the altar, so to speak. And it made sense to me. It's like, what's the most simplest explanation is like, as the show was approaching in terms of them dropping the episode, Raven and SK were like, you know what, let's just say we're together. And so we might get more attention, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, while it's being aired. I have been reassured by someone very, very, very close to the situation that I very much trust that at least the feelings are very real, that this is not some sort of fake relationship between Raven and SK. Certainly, I would say, and this is less confirmed, but more my take reading between the lines, certainly from Raven's point of view, and that this has been a very difficult situation for the people involved. And again, I'm just adding that I think it's certainly from Raven's point of view.
Totally.
It's and now like they broke up, and then they said something about legal proceedings.
So wrapping up Hannah's video, she said she invited him to Cabo in May 2022. He booked flights that same day. She attached a screenshot of their texts, him sending his flight confirmation. In August, he came in to visit while in town. In September, he invited her to Miami, but it fell through because of a school event. So this was all up until like 2 months ago. And I saw someone has a statement from Raven. Raven said this. It said in November 2022. So within the last couple of weeks, Raven had responded to potential rumors about SK, which this would go with your point, Nick. She had said, I don't have anything to say about it. To summarize, rumors are rumors and we're fine. We're good. That's my man and I'm sticking beside him. Again, this happened in November. I was struggling to find an exact date. So I don't know if this was before or after those like real receipts were posted. But at the time, she was willing to stand by him regardless of the rumors. But then after this TikTok came out, Raven started deleting all the photos of her and SK off of her Instagram. And then she actually posted a story with just 3 praying hand emojis on Saturday. I don't know if that was kind of a pray for me situation.
It's a bit cryptic, but yeah, I assume pray for me.
That was on Saturday.
Right?
And then SK now has deleted all the photos of the two of them from Instagram. And they sent out a breakup announcement that said, quote, we are saddened to announce that we have decided to go our separate ways. Due to ongoing legal proceedings surrounding these allegations, we cannot provide additional details and ask that you please respect our privacy during this hard time. Thank you for following our love story and believing in us. This journey has forever shaped our lives, and we are so grateful for everyone who has been a part of it.
Are they suing Hannah?
I don't know.
Here's what I think. I know because there's been a lot of speculation in terms of like every time stuff like this goes up or lawyers involved, I know fans often like to be like, oh, the show's suing the cast for like breaking some sort of like part of their contract. That never happens. I mean, it rarely happens. Like, and you would know if it was happening.
Mm-hmm.
I say this with confidence, without certainty, but with confidence because none of this has been confirmed. I think my read on this is that SK is telling a version to Raven. I've heard that they are, as of yesterday, I heard that they were a united front and that she very much, I heard that they were a united front. That's what I heard. So I want to make clear what I've heard and what I'm speculating.
She is standing by her man.
Mm-hmm.
I just heard that they were a united front. I wasn't sure because I was just like, are they? And they were, and the answer was very much so is what I heard. Right. It's my opinion that, SK is, has his truth and he's sharing that truth to Raven. And I'm assuming Raven wants to believe him. And it's my guess that SK is, when these legal proceedings, it has to do with these accusations and some sort of like cease and desist or things like that, which personally, if that's what's going on, I think is silly and a waste of time, and it sounds like a big deal, but ultimately it's going to end up being nothing. I don't think you can cease and desist someone from sharing pictures that they own, or whether it's true or not, talking about their version or timelines of a relationship. But I'm guessing that SK is trying to take some sort of legal action against this Hannah person, whether actually or just like saying that he's going to, I don't know. And there seems to be, it's all about the timeline, right? It's all about when did these conversations happen? When did they go on trips? Were Raven and SK together? Because they could easily, I don't think it was ever confirmed by Raven when she was on the show that her and SK have been together this whole time.
No.
In fact, it sounds like they weren't. And so I guess the big question is, when did that happen? And so, and I'm getting the impression that at first it was like Raven's reaction, again, this is just a guess, was, yeah, we weren't together. You were dating people, I was dating people, whatever. And it sounds like the more information that comes out, I wonder if it's getting harder and harder for her to believe. I mean, the fact that they seem to have announced a breakup doesn't speak well to, it's like, hey, if you believe your person, then why are we letting these rumors break us apart? So I don't know. It's certainly interesting. I think SK was sloppy, and it's catching up with them. And I think Raven's hoping that she can believe someone. My heart really goes, from what I hear, my heart really goes out to Raven. Because like, regardless of what the truth is, I think she's on the receiving end of both unfair criticism and I think she just wants to be happy. And I think she really cares about SK from what I gather. And I think this is just a tough situation for her. And, whether it's a tough situation for SK or he deserves it, or it's a tough situation for this Hannah person or she deserves it. I mean, again, even if I just have a problem with this person who's making these TikToks and going viral and putting out more stuff and then going more viral. Like, isn't there a way to like let the Ravens of the world know without trying to get clout from it? I think that's the issue I have in any of these situations where they're going to social
platforms.
They're going to platforms,
instead of the
and then
person.
like getting attention from it, and then like sprinkling their truth with like OOTDs and like skincare routines and things like that. It's just like I don't know. That doesn't mean it's not true. It just means
The motives are not pure.
It reads disingenuous, So I guess I just have less sympathy for this Hannah person. I don't know how I should feel towards SK. What I'm confident in saying is that I think we should be empathetic to Raven and not judgmental to Raven for wanting to believe in the person that she loves.
I also think part of this has to do with the way she was framed on the show of like when we talked to her on the podcast and she was like, I'm warm. And like the stuff they were showing was like the 2 minutes of me being negative all day. Like, I think there's this perception that she's this like stunning Pilates girl who's like above all criticism and kind of like cold and not as emotional. And like, I think people are really dehumanizing her and viewing her as this like reality TV character instead of like a real human woman who is like dealing with like allegations that would be so upsetting and confusing regardless of what's true and what's not. It's so difficult to have your life put under a microscope like that. And she is not the few minutes of footage that you saw of her on Netflix.
Totally. And then like, that narrative of kind of that cold, also like cold calculated. So like, oh, they knew what they were doing the whole time. This is all fake. They're doing it for attention. Like, again, I trust the people telling me that it's not for attention, that the relationship itself was certainly very real.
Winter is upon us. And in the winter, nobody wants to feel dry. Nobody wants to feel crusty. And I love my Osea products year round. But let me tell you, I have been leaning on the body oil. As the air is getting dry, there is nothing more luxurious, nothing more nourishing. It is vegan, cruelty-free, high-quality ingredients that are getting me through November.
Amanda and I went to the Osea location in Venice and we got facials. And I was just thinking about our facialist the other day and wondering how she was. It was a magical experience. We did the like gua sha facial. I felt very sculpted, felt very cared for. And they use all of their Osea products. And I felt like my face was glowing for weeks.
Everybody has their own kind of like golden product. So I would say for me, that is the face wash. But if you're trying to discover which product is going to rock your world, an amazing option is the 6-piece mini set, where you don't have to commit to the full-size products. You can get a little sampling of all the different ones, see what's really rocking your world. Bada bing, bada boom.
Also, what a great gift to give people. Like, it's not only the wintry holiday season where our skin needs it, but you're always looking for a gift for, I don't know, either someone you're really close to who you know loves skincare, or it's one of those gifts where you know everyone's going to love it.
If you have a friend or a loved one who you know is really focused on trying to be their best selves right now this holiday season, like, think of Osea. It's super high quality and everyone cares about their skin. Everyone wants to, you know, be moisturized and age better. And we all know that moisturization plays a big role in that. So, like, yeah, people who want to invest in themselves, it's a perfect gift. Right now, our listeners get 10% off your first order with promo code VIALL at OseaMalibu.com. You'll even get free samples with every order. Ooh, free samples. Love free samples. And orders over $50 get free shipping. That's 10% off Osea. That's OSEA Malibu.com. Promo code VIALL. I'm sorry. I think you lose credibility when you go about it in the way that this Hannah person's doing. And she very much she could be telling the truth. I don't know, but it's she's trying to personally benefit from what she is claiming is misfortune.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think there's a way to get her truth out to the people who, like, you know, Raven, if that's the case, because, like, no one knew she existed before. Does the world need to know?
But if her story is true, if that moment happened where Raven sent her profile to SK and SK said, I told you I was going to handle it, that points to the fact that Raven already knew something was going on.
But we hear that from Hannah. How do we know that happened?
We don't. It's all speculation. I'm just saying if that
so
part
we don't
is
know
true.
That's if I don't have a receipt for it, I don't. It's hard for me to believe.
But also, that's like kind of a
saying.
weird thing for if Raven were to do that. Like, why she doesn't have other random women following her and liking her posts? Like, why did this?
Why would she just
Hannah
randomly notice
like,
this Hannah person?
This?
Yeah,
I wonder if it was. I don't know if it was like a mutual. Like, if SK would have followed her, if that would have been him, like, giving himself away. Like, there's a lot of follow-up questions here.
Yeah, it doesn't
really line up.
Doesn't totally line up. I just think we need to be careful about throwing Raven under the bus. But that I feel confident in saying.
But it also kind of seemed like from the communication of Hannah and SK that they were in Europe together. And then he was like, oh, do you want me to, like, fly you out to Miami? Like, it seemed like if they were in a relationship, it was in one that was not super, like, they weren't necessarily living together. Like, it seemed much more like, oh, we're meeting up and we're traveling, which I think is more conducive to some kind of, like, secretive affair situation than if she's, like, posting receipts of, like, them at dinner on a Tuesday. So I don't know if that kind of adds to some of where the muddledness might come in, or, like, the feasibility of this.
My understanding that the SK's defense is that this relationship happened, but the dates and the timing are fabricated. How they're fabricated, because Allie, you're saying there's some very, like, damning receipts with some timestamps there. I'm not the type of person who can, like, fake that, but it's not that hard to fake these days. And I'm not saying she is faking it. I don't know.
It's time for an advertisement from Canva Pro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Canva Pro, like, it's not that hard. You know, you can
remove
make
background,
some fake
easily
text
make
up
logo.
pretty easily. Yeah. So who knows? But certainly a fascinating story to continue to track, and hopefully we can get Raven back on, or even SK, and see when these legal things they're speaking of are finalized. My guess is they'll be finalized by who. I think my read on it is SK is trying to claim to take some sort of legal action, and it's going to go nowhere.
But, you know, I might just start saying legal proceedings whenever I don't want to talk about something, because it's like, you don't know if something could go to trial. I'll be like, yeah, I'm not speaking about that until the legal proceedings are done. So vague.
The leading proceedings are just so piling up. I can't speak on this.
I don't know. So we will see. All right, moving on. Allie, what do we got for Bachelor tea before we get to the finale?
Yes. Kate, I mean, I know this will go with what we were going to talk about on the finale. Kate is really doubling down on the kind of bashing of Logan in terms of
Yeah.
I mean, there's been a lot of comments between the two of them, as we saw on the reunion. Logan was able to address that and talk about his side and how those comments made him feel about her critiquing his car and his lifestyle and what he can and can't afford. So she actually posted a story on Instagram with the location was in Cabo, and she just captioned it, "A Costco card and some extra guac ain't getting you here," which I believe is
in response to his TikTok video where he was like, I have
yeah.
the money, I have whatever he said.
Oh,
He was like posing in front of his car, and he was like, when your TV girlfriend calls you broke or something, and he had like Monopoly cash and a Costco card.
He was having
and
fun with
extra
it.
guac.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But she,
And then
I guess I as we always like to say, like the show is edited, so we like to hold back from making character judgments on these people from an edited TV show. But like, I here's my take on Kate. Either she's auditioning for trying to be on some other reality TV show or
Selling
shows,
Sunset?
whether it's Selling Sunset but she's clearly or she's not a good person. Right? Like
Mhm.
it's like she's said too much that you can't simply just blame on editing or the fact that like things haven't been shown. I mean, we're responding to what specifically is shown and what is specifically coming out of her mouth, not like some voiceovers or ITMs. Like she's clearly saying this. Why is she saying this? I don't know. But like she seems to have no problem coming across as incredibly superficial and condescending and belittling and just not a kind, empathetic person. I don't know. Like, is she just like, is it just like, I want to be on TV and like, she's just decided to play like the WWE villain and she just, like some people at this point in reality TV, I think, what's her name? The doctor.
Kira.
Romeo. I think per their socials, and good for them. They're just like, it seems like they have taken an approach that they don't take this show seriously. It's TV. They recognize that it's edited, and they're just like, I played a character. Like they've essentially have come out and acknowledged that, And is Kate doing the same thing? I don't know.
I also thought her, like, and I'm sure we'll get into this more, but like when she kind of tried to play it off as like, oh, this was girl talk. Like this was me just like being sassy with the girls. Like that reminded me so much of when men will say atrocious, horrific, disgusting, degrading shit and be like, it was locker room talk. Like it goes both ways. Like you can't be like emasculating and demeaning and like like really perpetuating and upholding this like super toxic masculinity. Like that's what a lot of this is rooted in. It's like, he's a man, he should make money, he should provide for me. Like you're shaming Logan in these ways that are like really intense and deep. And yeah, it's like also this like casual social level, but like you can't just like write it off and be like, I was talking with the girls when like that, no, like there's more to it.
You weren't supposed to hear it. It wasn't supposed to get back. I didn't say it to your face.
I just said it on national television.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when I guess we'll just get into this part, but when she was like on the tell-all or whatever, the reunion, and when she broke up with Logan and she's like, I realize you're projecting. Does she know what projecting means? Like, what exactly was he projecting? He wasn't projecting that he wants a rich person to support him. Like, what does this mean? Like, he wasn't complaining about her at all. Like, his criticism to her was, I couldn't be more happy with you. I like everything about you, which that was confusing to me, but nevertheless, that's what he said. And she constantly complained about him and belittled him and like made him feel small. And then she used this big word like, oh, well, I just realized you're projecting. Well, he would have to have been complaining about her and behind, like either to the cameras or to his friends, and then accusing her of that very thing. Like, she doesn't make any sense. But then also, she actually lost credibility in a weird way when she apologized to Logan at the reunion, when she was like, it was so out of pocket. Because to me, that says that it's not like some sort of plan, that she's not just trying to get on TV. She was like, otherwise, why apologize? You might as well just double down at this point and just say, hey, listen, I'm not going to apologize for having standards, and I'm not going to apologize for like having expectations.
But if she's posting on her social media still,
that's what I'm saying. So like, why she actually looked worse by like for a moment trying to apologize.
Yeah.
Because that to me sounds like she either A, isn't smart enough, or B, doesn't actually give a shit. She was just in that moment thought it was the right thing to say, and now she's just saying what she really believes.
I mean, she had rehearsed that breakup for
Absolutely.
hours and hours and hours.
She also
Hours.
has
She could
the
not
energy.
wait to deliver those lines.
I know.
It made no sense.
She also has the energy of those girls who over insert themselves in any drama, even if they're not close with someone. If they see someone going through something, or if they're sad or whatever, she
They're like,
acts.
let me into the bathroom where people are crying. Let me in there.
Yeah, but acts like they're best friends. And I'm like, Kate, I don't know if you truly are best friends with any of these people. That's her vibe.
Yeah, and she's mean. Like, that was mean. Like, to...
She was mean on Clayton season. She was a mean girl then.
She was a
She
mean
was
girl
when
to
she came on
Shanae at the
Paradise-
tell-all.
At the yeah, like she has not had one stint of being nice or caring or anything
Yeah,
like
it's like
this
we all have our
entire
moments,
time.
but, like-
So, right, she has just been nasty the entire TV stint she's had. So
like, Kate, if you're listening, if there's a good person in there, like, let us know.
Let her
Or
out.
maybe you're just... I
Blink
don't know, but
twice
like...
if you feel like you ended down a path you don't want to be on.
Yeah, I don't know, but like, also like, because the trying to get on Selling Sunset just doesn't like. First of all, like Bachelor Nation like owns her for a period of time, so why would they want her on their show only to like have her go on? Like, they're not in the business of like
Promoting
hyping
their
up or
show.
promoting other people that some other network or platform's going to reap the benefits. So like, eventually Kate will be out of contract. Will Selling Sunset care at that point? I don't know. And it's like just being mean isn't that like if she's trying to be, what's her name? Christina. Like, Christina had a lot more than just being mean or saying off-putting things. She at least had some pizzazz or style or some flair to it. Like, Kate doesn't have any Christine Queen in her. Like, anyone can say mean things. If you're gonna like be that character, you have to do it with style. And like, I'm sorry, but like, Kate just doesn't seem to have that. And I don't know if that's the best excuse I can make for her, that she thinks she's auditioning to replace Christine Quinn on Selling Sunset.
Logan actually, he's just been taking the high road in all of this stuff. So he actually made his own Instagram story. It was a screenshot of the Costco travel website, because, you can get good deals with Costco travel. And he pulled up Cabo and literally just captioned it, "On my way, baby."
I feel like Logan's caught a lot of heat in his 2 seasons. He seems to be a person that Bachelor Nation, at least on Twitter, likes to snark at. I've seen memes like, only Kate can make me root for Logan. But like, and I've never met Logan. I've heard good things about Logan. At the end of the day, I would be surprised if he's just not a solid stand-up, high character guy. He may have some maturing to do. He may have some like growth to like, have to happen. But like, at the end of the day, he seems like a stand-up guy who just wants to do right by people and is willing to apologize but also stand up for himself. And like, I don't know, like, I would be surprised if I get to meet Logan and not like what I see.
I know someone who DM'd him because they found him very cute, and he responded within 10 minutes and was super nice.
Yeah.
What a gem.
I don't
He's
get.
gonna get a lot of
like-
DMs after that goes out.
Sorry.
Everyone's gonna be like, okay, on my way.
Although
Running.
Logan, just grow it back, man. Grow back the facial hair. He looked super hot on the last tell-all. This reunion, I don't like. He was. Why did Logan dress like a villain for this
Was
tell-all?
the turtleneck?
Yes, that's what. That's
And then
what
he
was going on.
he shaved his face, had the turtleneck, parted the hair. It looked like he was trying to dress like a villain. Actually, can we just pause for a second,
Yeah.
Allie?
What?
Welcome to Bachelor Nation.
yeah, you were
Like-
all
Thank
over
you.
this episode.
On the
Wow,
screen.
like-
Yeah.
You were all
Hey.
over the episode.
She was giving face.
You got more screen time than Justin, Sierra,
Andrew.
Andrew.
Truly.
Hey.
Yay.
I mean, well done. Welcome to the fam.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Amanda's the only normie
Yeah, thank God. You need someone holding down the fort. A plebe.
A star
Plebeian.
was born.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Nick rewinded to see you the
That's
first
so
time. He's like,
nice.
"Oh, there's
And
Allie."
then you're on it like
screenshot
30 more
I
times.
fangirled out. I was like,
Yeah.
screenshots. And then I was like, this episode's going to be
truly,
available.
Let's be honest. It was not a Johnny and Victoria breakup. It was a Johnny, Victoria, and Allie breakup. I was
Yes.
sitting in the middle. I was there for it all.
You were there.
Yeah,
I was a little
you
blurry,
had
but I
had
was
some
there.
reaction looks.
You did have some reaction looks.
All right, what Sierra T?
Well, so basically, Danielle has been doing a little pressy press, was talking about Bachelor in Paradise, her and Michael. Obviously, we know they're still together, very, very happy. She had actually been saying that she came out of Bachelor retirement because producers called her specifically because Michael had mentioned her specifically. So they had said, Michael's interested in you. Michael has requested you. Would you consider coming down to the beach? And that's why she went. Which made me then kind of question the moment we saw this week when she was telling Michael, I could have never expected you. And maybe she meant she couldn't have expected that deep of a connection so quickly. But if she came out of retirement specifically for Michael and she's saying things like, I would have never known, I would have never expected you.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that about Nick though, so I relate to that. Where
What do you
like,
mean?
because of course, like we DM'd, we knew each other, we met, and I would have never expected that we would be where we are today. You know, like. So I know it's a different story for sure, but I can understand where she's saying, I would have never expected us to like fall so in love. I'm moving to Akron. I've met your son. Like we have such a great relationship. So I can agree.
But if she's claiming that the producers told her that Michael requested her, I'm just here to say I heard something different.
Oh?
But
What did you hear?
Pray tell.
Good sir.
I just heard something different.
You can't be that ominous.
But I can say that I feel confident saying that both Michael and Danielle were aware that they would both be in paradise. That much I can confirm. So, and I will confirm, I'm only going to confirm that now because it sounds like Danielle confirmed that. But doesn't that didn't she kind of out herself, or more specifically, didn't she just out Michael as it relates to Sierra and how that whole situation was handled?
Totally. And it makes me wonder too, if Michael was that interested in her to the point where, you know, if what she's saying is true, if he specifically requested her or at least mentioned, and maybe he mentioned other people too, she could have been on a short list. But they clearly had a relationship before. They were already DMing about their common mutual experiences. She had reached out to him in support. Why wouldn't they have just tried to date in the real world? Why did they have to go to the beach? Is it just like a fun paycheck?
I mean, are you asking why any of these people wanted to go on TV?
Yeah, but they strike me as a little different than the average couple there.
Listen, I love Michael. I think he's a great guy. I consider him a friend. I think he's a wonderful human, but he's also like any of us. Like I would say Michael maybe made the mistake of trying too hard to act like he was above all this, you know, above liking the attention of the Instagram followers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't think I like attention. I like Instagram followers. My hope, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think we are too hard on the people for, you know, wanting to reap the benefits that come with the show, because certainly there's a lot of negatives that come from being on the show when it comes to criticism and things like that. But yeah, I mean, they're just like everyone else. And so, and I guess what I'm saying, I'm surprised that Danielle outed Michael like that, but they certainly got the benefit of the edit on the finale. I mean, who do you think is the most upset person after watching the finale for what wasn't shown? Because I would say Sierra is piping hot, is my guess.
Everything was so
she did
short.
not wear that. She did not wear that dress, and she looked wonderful, by the way. But like
Stunning.
that,
Slayed.
Catwoman.
she came to like throw down, and that was like a murder dress, you know, like and both like and it had a lot of different meanings, and it got pared down to, at the end of the day, I'm just happy for you both.
Yeah, she came dressed like vigilante shit. And then
I do think she said it was definitely shady though, because she was like, I do just like hope that you find a person that makes you happy. It's like, well, he's sitting beside his person. So like you could have acknowledged Danielle. that was a little shady. But
sure, but
it definitely wasn't as worse.
Again, I love Michael, but if I'm Sierra, I can understand. If you're Sierra after watching this whole season unfold, and then you go to the tell-all, and you're like, you know what? Finally, I'll get my chance to at least defend myself and at least speak up for myself. At least say, hey, I didn't appreciate how it all went down. At the end of the day, no hard feelings, but like it sure felt like I was just a convenient person to hang out with while the person you really wanted to date also confirmed by this person that like he asked for you. And yeah, I would be upset that at the end of the day, then it's aired, and then everything. I mean, they filmed for 13 hours at this tell-all, and obviously, as we all know, things are edited. They had 90 minutes of content, and they filmed for 13 hours, right? So like. It was kind of crazy because like I've heard from all the people who were there, all the things that were talked about, all the things that were said. I've heard it from both sides, people who were like, on the receiving end of criticism, people who are giving the criticism, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm here to say, boy, they cut out a lot of good stuff, like it sure seems like they really watered it down. And, at the end of the day, I think Michael and Danielle got the benefit. Their relationship was clearly prioritized by the show. And if I'm Sierra, I would feel very used by everyone. Yeah. I think Sierra has the right to be very upset. And that's not to say I think Michael and Danielle are like really, they weren't the only ones who played a role in that, but all I'm saying is I think Sierra has a right to be frustrated.
Totally. And I think there is still such a big like Team Sierra presence of everyone who's watched this season and has remained kind of on her side of things to say. So after Danielle had that interview talking about her and Michael, a lot of people had sent it to Sierra. They were saying not to give Danielle the time of day. I guess at some point Danielle blanked on Sierra's name and said, "What's her face?" instead of Sierra. People thought she was invalidating Sierra's feelings. So it's definitely it was kind of a polarizing thing of, are you Team Michael and Danielle? Are you Team Sierra?
I guess I'm team both. I mean, like I'm team Michael because he's a friend, and Danielle, obviously she was on my season. Very nice. I have nothing bad to say about her. And if they're happy, I'm certainly happy for them. But I also very much feel for Sierra, who, especially after watching the reunion and knowing that she had a lot to say and none of it was aired. Seemingly because they wanted to focus on the I love you, and they wanted the Michael and Danielle to be nothing but positive. And Sierra, from everything I heard, had a lot to say about how she felt she was treated on the beach. I mean, I would feel very used. Like she was simply just a placeholder to like propel Michael A's love story forward. And it's a TV show. They're there to.
Don't they like all do that?
What do you mean?
Much.
Sure. Yeah. It goes both ways. I recognize it's a TV show, and I recognize these people all sign up for this, and they have no problem reaping the benefits when they're on the receiving end of benefits. And very few people will acknowledge that. But knowing what I know, all I'm saying is I have empathy for Sierra. And if I were her, I can understand why she feels slighted by this experience. And I think she has a right to.
So question, what do people expect when this situation happens? And, Michael knew Danielle was coming. Danielle knew whatever. He didn't know when. Do they expect when Michael goes down to the beach and he does not see the person he quote unquote requested, do they expect him to leave or to wait for her?
They expect him to figure it out and do what he did.
And then they get mad when
he figures it.
The Bachelor Nation, the audience, the people.
But they're you're saying that the audience expect him to do this. Yeah, I mean, I guess the audience expects people like Michael. Think about Michael. He is someone who has been portrayed as and certainly wants to be thought of as a very high character person. And for the Michael A that I know, he very much is that person.
For sure.
But if you want to be known as a super high character person, again, with great power comes great responsibility. You are going to be under a microscope for your decisions. And if I wanted to critique my friend how he could have handled that, he could have not entered. If he truly knew, if what Danielle was saying is true, that he requested Danielle, right? Now, Michael might say, well, I didn't know she was coming. These people all know who's coming. Like, I'm sorry. I just putting it out there. Everyone certainly has a thought. He could have simply said, you know, again, I don't know what was said behind closed doors. When I was on Paradise and I went for Jen, and when I showed up on the beach, I went on some dates, and certainly this wasn't aired, but every time I went on a date, I was like, just so you know, if Jen comes down, I'm going to ask her on the date and I'm going to ask her out. So if you want to go on a date with me, I'll be open to it. But like, I was very upfront with her. And maybe Michael said that to Sierra. I don't know, but it certainly wasn't aired, and it's never been said to anyone. No, it wasn't aired, but I said that. So we don't know, but I was very upfront. So I guess I'd want to know, was Michael as upfront to Sierra as I was, say, to Amanda Stafford and to Leah? I think I went on a date with her. Everyone knew I was waiting for Jen. And I'm curious if everyone on the beach knew that Michael was waiting for Danielle per Michael's mouth, not because it was just like some unspoken thing. I was telling anyone who asked, I was like, waiting for Jen. I don't care. Send me home. I was daring the producers to send me home before they brought Jen down. I just wasn't going to lead anyone on. That was my choice I made for myself. And if that meant I was going to go home, then so be it. All I'm saying is I think Sierra has a right to be frustrated from what we know per Danielle talking and doing interviews and what we've seen on the show.
Yep.
And for what we haven't seen on the show.
Correct. All right. Should we dive into the episodes?
The show opened up with Wells' like recap, which, you know, throw Wells a bone. My biggest takeaway from that whole recap was I forgot that Justin and Genevieve dated.
How? How did you possibly forget that?
Because like so many things have happened. I mean,
but then
how many people did Justin date on the beach?
Pretty much just Genevieve, I thought. And then when he came back, I remembered it because when he came back for Eliza, Genevieve had so many comments about Rodney, don't worry about this. He's such a bad person.
Also, can we just speak to like how Jesse, anytime something sad happens, I love how Jesse Palmer just comes out and is just like, well, that sucked. Anyways, moving on. Like for every like emotional moment, he's like, wow, that was really hard. Anyways,
moving on.
Like when Mara left, he's like, yeah, that was like really hard for Mara. Anyways, all right, well,
it's like, no, Mara just had literally nobody to talk. That was not that hard for her. She was like,
yeah, she just
gotta go.
Like, gotta go.
The most obvious situation in the world. It's literally just her, and not a single other person who is single.
They place her in the middle of them too. She is dead center in that group on the couch, just staring around at everyone else. I was like, this poor girl.
Yeah.
I do love how they, after their recap, it must have been before the rose ceremony, but everyone's kind of talking about getting engaged and whatnot. And Aaron and Johnny are laying in their bunk beds, and Aaron's talking to Johnny, and he's like, yeah, man, you know, like if you want to get engaged, do it. And if not, don't. Like,
don't.
Groundbreaking.
Big facts, Aaron. Thank you so much for your insight.
Big facts.
Go to Aaron for your advice. Always
Bachelor in Paradise needs to do something about how they wind things down, because they spent 45 minutes wasting our time, like having these people like first so after Mara leaves, it's like, all right, well, everything's about to change. Things are getting serious. Like there's no cocktail party. You should have talked about your future. So decide now whether you're ready for a future forever. And then like everyone gets a rose except for like Logan and Kate, and she does the thing and they leave.
You could tell he was like so completely and utterly shocked.
Yeah. Like
his jaw was dropped the entire time. He's like hugging everyone by.
Yeah. They have a rose ceremony. Everyone gets a rose. Literally the next morning. And you knew it was coming. Jesse's like, well, again, we didn't want you to talk about it last night at a cocktail party. We needed to cancel that because the expectation was you should have figured it out. But now we need you to talk again. Now we need you to have another conversation that we didn't allow you to have yesterday about whether you are, in fact, really serious. And then they do the whole rigmarole thing again and have these conversations. Apparently, Shanae had a whole different point of view from the night before about whether she was capable of having a serious relationship with one of the twins. And it's just like, can't they need to do something to bridge that gap between having all these couples and then wanting to like basically narrow it down to their final two. Like I'm not a producer. I'm not here to figure out something, but they need to figure out something because that was 45 minutes of nothing.
Well, and like you said, we had so much footage from the frickin' reunion.
Yeah,
and
why didn't they just give us more of that?
I believe, I mean, correct, I said correct me if I'm wrong, like any of you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my interpretation, when we filmed the reunion, it was to be put into 2 evenings. The way they structured the day, it felt like it was 2 different things. And then suddenly, I was expecting there to be reunion footage on Monday night's episode.
Like cut in, on Monday night?
Yeah.
I did too, but...
And we
They
wasted
cut
so much
so
time
much.
with
It's
Wells's recap, which I'm like, okay, well, no one's going to be watching the reunion if they haven't watched anything of the season prior.
Well, that's not necessarily true. They actually literally do what they did with Wells in case, like, I mean, the reunion, the finales always have the highest ratings. So, clearly people are watching the finale that haven't watched the entire season. Or maybe they watched, episode 1 and then popped back in at episode 4 and came back for one more. You know what I'm saying? It's something more like that. So part of the reason they do that is to bring everyone up to speed. But I agree with you. Like, as much as I love my boy Wells getting his moment, and that was nice of them to do, that was a really long recap.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a lot more like good stuff they could have shown. And then again, we watched 45 minutes of people like of them narrowing it down to the couples we knew they were going to narrow it down to, and it was just like,
so who broke up that next day? Who left? So obviously Brittany and Tyler left as couples, Michael and Danielle, and Shanae and
Flo,
not Justin, the other one,
Joey.
I mean, I feel like she did not mean to be mean. I just think she did not.
She put her foot in it by mistake.
Yeah.
It was like weird because she kept saying, "I'm not trying to be mean," and then would say some really mean shit.
You're not a man.
But at the same time, I truly believe Shanae that she just couldn't find the words, and that she sincerely didn't, like to Natalie's point, that she didn't want to be mean, but she didn't know how to articulate. Listen, man, we're not going to date.
Yeah.
You do TikTok dances. There's not much else I can say.
Has Shanae ever posted a TikTok? Do we know? Can we look?
Find it.
Has Joey posted one since? Or did he feel so judged that he has not posted a TikTok since that combo?
Because like a lot of people who go on Bachelor in Paradise are posting TikTok. So like Shanae acted like, I mean, good for her. She doesn't want that in her life, but
I only see 8 TikToks that Shanae's ever posted. One of them is with a giant shrimp.
I mean, 8.
The shrimp was from Clayton season when she made all the shrimp and no one ate it.
I'm just saying, she did talk like it was a really bad thing to post TikToks.
I think she was saying that he dances in his TikToks and that is giving childish vibes. And she was just, I think that's kind of what she was alluding to. But she definitely did not say it in the nicest way possible, but I don't think she was trying to be mean.
Because her point is
crazy.
valid.
I've never seen someone so mean, but so like...
So not trying to be,
So not trying to be mean.
I felt for Shanae so hard at the Women Tell All. I think she got... Last year, yeah. I think she got so bullied and people were so mean to her and she handled herself so well. I DM'd her after that and I just, said that I was rooting for her happiness and that, I'm sorry that everyone was so mean because I hate situations like that. And she responded so kind. And I think she's just misunderstood. And I root for her. And I'm a big Shanae fan. I know she's a little cookie, but
she's not without criticism. And I think, she might
has her flaws.
She might have a hard time articulating certain emotions in certain situations. And these are high pressured situations. But she's not an evil or bad person. And I think there's a lot more good in her.
It was comedic gold, though, the twins' final scene on the beach, because Joey is so taken aback by breaking up with Shanae. And he goes, and what makes it even worse is seeing Justin so in love and Justin having this great relationship. Cue to Justin and Flo. I don't think we should do this afterwards.
Nope.
Me neither. Okay, bye.
Let's leave it at the beach.
Perfect. Then they get in the car. They are hyping each other up. And then Joey goes, she said I wasn't a man. God, she said I wasn't a man. Da, da, da. And Justin goes, you're more of a man than she ever will be.
I know. I was like, got him.
Also, in fact,
Oh, yeah,
Big
for
facts.
sure. And Aaron and Genevieve fight like
Immediately.
16-year-olds. I mean, it's just like her leaving and coming back, and they went through the whole thing again. And he's like, this time you can go up there and pack your bags and I won't stop you. And she's like, I don't want you to. It's like, okay, well.
I thought at first that Aaron, like, I'm a big believer, as we know on this show, that listen, like, breakups suck and you have a right to have your feelings change. You have a right to leave a relationship, you know, and if that is the case, that like the other person's feelings are going to get hurt and they're going to be upset. And you have to allow yourself to be a bad guy to them, right? And I thought Aaron honestly did a pretty good job up into the point where when Genevieve came back down and clearly there's some miscommunication, right? And Genevieve's like, you're literally like, you're saying it's all my fault. And in that moment, I understood Aaron's point of view. I was like, he's not saying that. He was just articulating his frustrations with you, and you chose to literally say nothing, which was, I was fine with. Like, don't say anything, Genevieve. Like, you know what? Don't give Aaron the satisfaction of a conversation. He wants out, just let him speak and do your thing. Fine. But then Genevieve decided to come back, which again, she has the right to do. But Aaron was doing a perfect job, and to the point where Genevieve, like, I don't know who said it first, but it was like, Genevieve's like, clearly you don't know what I'm saying. And then Aaron was like, well, Aaron was like, Aaron should have said, so you're trying to rewrite it. No, it was like, Genevieve was basically saying, you don't understand. Genevieve goes, I don't understand what you're saying. You know, like it's just like, you talk, I don't get it. And then Aaron should have said, I don't understand what you're saying. But Aaron tried to make it seem like, no, you don't understand what I'm saying, but I understand what you're saying. And then actually Aaron proved Genevieve's point, where it sure sounded like Aaron was trying to make it more Genevieve's fault than it was Aaron's fault. But also, that all being said, it was an A+ apology at the finale.
I
They made up for it.
think we need to talk about the single strand of hair that was miscombed. That was driving me bonkers. I was about to lose it. And also the highlights. I've never seen them like that.
It was highlighted one too.
Yeah, it was a single highlighted strand.
And Genevieve saw it and she was like, I'm leaving.
She's like, not my fucking
hair
job
there.
anymore.
I will not help you.
Yeah. As a
She
girlfriend,
100%
you're pushing
did.
that away.
Foolish.
She's like, you're on your own, fucker.
She 100% did that.
Yeah.
And I kind of love it.
I do
But
too.
that all being said, I got to give them both credit. It was at the tell-all or reunion, whatever you want to freaking call it. It was a really solid apology. And in terms of holding yourself accountable, I give Aaron and Genevieve a lot of credit. They really just focused on what they did wrong, and good for them. Listen, they're goofy people. Aaron's annoyed the shit out of me for 3 seasons now. He seems like a swell guy who probably has some growing up to do. And maybe at some point, Aaron, if you're out there, Allie still very much wants to have sex with you.
Hello.
I am here.
I don't get it. Doesn't make sense to me.
Respectfully, I think you're unfuckable.
You are her Mount Rushmore. Who else is on your Mount Rushmore besides Aaron, Allie?
Oh yeah,
Ryan Seacrest.
Oh my god. Oh my
Oh,
god.
another-
It's boys with highlights, Allie, is what we're discovering.
The thing is with Ryan Seacrest, it's not about sex. Like, I truly believe Ryan Seacrest and I would be like the ideal power couple. I've watched his day in the life routines. I would fit in very well with them. I think we would be like great, just like power couple.
You want to be head
energy.
of a household together.
Yes, absolutely. I want a partner, and that's what Ryan Seacrest is going to give me. I'll let you know. Currently, we've chiseled out 2. We're leaving 2 spots open. I'll let you know.
Okay.
If you want to fill those spots, slide in to Allie's DMs.
All right, let's. I feel like we have 2 main. Well, obviously, we're saving the Victoria and Johnny and Greg for last. We got the Tyler and Brittany relationship.
Oh,
which
it's
Yeah.
first they're
do.
sweet, then they're sour. It was like a reverse Sour Patch situation.
first I was like, why do we care? And then it was like, oh, okay, I guess. And then
I mean, I love how they obviously left Paradise together. And then Jesse is like,
well, hold on. They they see like they had their paradise on the daybed couch conversation, and they exchanged "I love yous" for the first time, seemingly, and they sealed it with like a grandma kiss.
Yeah, they did.
They just
like,
went,
let's go to Chicago.
Let's go to Chicago, and they just like a little like. I've had better kisses from Phyllis. Is all I'm saying.
Grandma
That doesn't
Phyllis.
surprise me about Phyllis, honestly.
And nothing inappropriate from Phyllis, but they definitely, that was not like, you don't say "I love you" for the first time and talk about a future and give a
peck.
a peck.
Yeah.
I feel like Brittany never really liked Tyler.
Oh.
I don't believe
Okay,
that.
I think that Brittany thought he was very hot and that he was a very good man, but I think
Yeah.
he maybe didn't have the kind of like swag like that. Like I think there's maybe a certain thing that was slightly missing that she knew all along, and it was totally not a big deal when all of the other things were going so well. But I think there's maybe this like the way that when Rachel wanted to break up with him and he's just going on about how he like loves her, like I feel like sometimes maybe he doesn't quite read the room precisely.
Yeah, he has no swag. I think he's
a sweetheart and he's not trying to.
I would bet that he's a nice guy with absolutely zero game and no swag, and he's a very handsome man. Is my guess. I could be wrong. I've never met him. But he seems to be like with that face. He shouldn't be repelling women this quickly.
Oh yeah, and and we should get into like when the thing that Brittany gave as the example was he was when they were supposed to have space for one another, he was Snapchatting her, then he was DMing her, then he was texting her, and I was like, okay.
Like the fact that he uses Snapchat, tells me all I need to know about Tyler.
In fairness,
and I'm not interested.
In fairness to Tyler, though, or I think kind of piggybacking off, like if you're comparing, there were some the differences, but there are some similarities between Tyler and Brittany and Johnny and Victoria, which obviously, specifically this is the breakup. And we'll get into Johnny and Victoria, but like I think where Brittany fell short is she didn't give any reason as to why it ended, other than like a very vague, like I thought we were very different people. Which, listen, if you meet on Paradise, they clearly didn't have much of a relationship on the beach. I guess you don't need much of an excuse in life, but I think she would have did herself more of a service if she could give at least one or two reasons about why she didn't think they were compatible. And you know what I'm saying? And that doesn't mean she still has a right to leave the relationship, but it leaves the room open for me to think that she never really liked him in the first place. Or maybe to your point, maybe she just didn't want to be mean. Maybe she was like, listen, honestly, we got to Chicago and you're just kind of fucking weird, and maybe she didn't want to say that, because maybe that's how she felt.
I'm going to go to Italy and London.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have fun.
It was kind of a savage move.
Catch
when
flights,
Tyler's
not
like, yeah, she
feelings.
went to Europe and like text me, we're broken up. Like,
yeah.
But what was the whole, and Allie, maybe obviously you heard more of this, you can clear this up, but what was the whole, my mother DM'd you on Instagram or something that Brittany said to him?
Yeah, I wrote that down too, of saying like that was the only reason he reached out, because of her mom sending him something on Instagram. I mean, they met each other's families like really quickly after they left Paradise. Like all was doing well, but I don't know like what was sent.
Did Brittany's mom DM Tyler, and why is Brittany's mom DMing Tyler?
Yes.
It always shocks me how involved some parents can be in certain relationships, and I'm like, wow, that is bold.
And also in the DMs, like that's an email.
Yeah.
That is not a DM.
We forgot to talk about Rodney, Eliza, and Justin. Justin, they might as well just had a cardboard cutout of him because they edited him completely out of the show.
He had some good faces. I'll say that.
Allie's
here's
like
what
game
I'll
knows game.
say. Or do you want to say it? There's just a lot more. There's just so much more to this story.
Yeah, and
so much more to this story that they just didn't air.
Yeah, and I know like everything that Nick said on the last podcast episode about Justin and Eliza, that whole situation. I 157% disagree with that.
She disagrees with me.
Yeah. I disagree with him. I think that he was valid in feeling like a second option. I don't give a rat's ass that she flew to wherever.
Baltimore.
Like I don't think
Baltimore.
I don't care. She chose someone else on, like, he was embarrassed. He went home and, like, sure, she felt regret the next morning and, like, flew to him and apologized. But, like, I 100% respect his decision to be like, listen, I felt like a second option and I didn't like that feeling. And I know you obviously would want to feel like a first option as well. Thank you for flying here. I really appreciate it. And I do think that conversation went on for a lot longer than we saw on last week's episode. But I think it ended very much not how they aired, with her just being like, I think she said, I'm going to go take a break. And she walked outside.
Here's what happened. I still disagree with you too. Listen, my criticism of Justin has more to do with the fact that, like, we didn't get to see a lot for sure of that conversation. But I think it was accurate that when he began this conversation with her, he just kind of shut her down. And listen, all I'm saying is I don't think it was effective communication for someone who actually wanted to see where that relationship went, right? Because in reality, and we know this because Justin's a friend, and a couple months ago, we went to Din Tai Fung, and it was
DTF.
me, Natalie, and Justin, and was Greg there? Yeah. And Justin was like currently going through it. He was upset. He was frustrated. And we were like, what's going on? It was just like, girl talk, like he was just like talking to his friends about, like, he was basically came to LA.
Him and Greg came to LA for Liza, and he was like, hey, I'm going to be in LA. Like, I would love to see you. We've been talking about hanging out and seeing each other. So, like, I'm here, would love to hang out. We're at dinner. And he's like, I don't know if I'm going to order because it's 5:00. And he's like, I'm going to go to Eliza's house. So, like, I'm not going to order because I'm just going to leave here in a little bit. So, like, I feel for him because I get that he, how he felt in the beginning when she flew there. And then they talked for 3 hours. And then he was like, you know what? Like, we live on opposite sides of the country. Like, let's just see how this goes. Like, I'm not going to put a label on it. We're not going to say we're dating or anything like that. But, like, let's just see what happens. If I'm in LA, let's hang out. Let's FaceTime. Let's text. Like, whatever.
Yeah. But after seeing the episode, and I know we didn't get a lot to see, I was a little frustrated to see Justin shut her down so much. But there clearly is way more to the story. And yeah, I mean, and then Eliza on the episode, all of a sudden, what is this like?
Feelings for Rodney?
I want Rodney.
Wanting to get back together with Rodney? At the end of the day, I think these are three, like, I mean, I've never met Eliza. We know Justin and Rodney, great guys. Eliza seems like a wonderful person. I think she's just a really bad fuckboy. I mean, and like, I think she's bad at being a fuckboy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally. Because she doesn't it's like, she's indecisive, which is, I think, the issue. Like, it's not like it's malicious, but it is absolutely dragging everybody else around as she goes back and forth from either one.
And she's not good at communicating, and she's she's putting her needs and what she wants above everyone else, not maliciously, but yeah, it's a little fuckboy-esque, but not with cruel intentions. It's just a little.
Like, if fuckboys are snipers, she's just, like, firing randomly,
Yeah. There just definitely is a lot more to the story. Because at the end of the day, if I'm piecemealing all the little things I know, boy, Eliza and Ronnie, they had good chemistry.
They were so cute.
They were really cute together. Yeah. I think they really were. And I truly think that Eliza was really taken back by how Justin, like, came down the stairs for her, and Justin being the hottie that he is, like, I think she was just so caught up into, like, the swoon, like the swooning and the pursuit of Eliza, and it validated her ego. And I think if nothing else, this is a lesson to learn that, like, the chemistry or the moment doesn't always, like, mean as much as we want it to mean, and we might be saying goodbye to a good thing. Because I get why Rodney, even if he had, any inklings of feelings for Eliza, it's just like, at this point, it's just too messy and too convoluted for, like, me to even consider this, like, and if Eliza truly regrets what she did with Rodney, I feel bad for her. I really do. But I really think it comes down to her being so into that moment and how Justin
I think it
When-
also
yeah.
had to do with the fact that Rodney, I mean, she's mentioned this on the reunion where how he did but did not say that he didn't want her to go on the date. Like, I feel like because of that interaction, I think that's what led her a little bit more towards Justin.
Yeah, but that
You
kind
know.
of just, that's what I'm saying. I think we're agreeing. But it was because Justin had such a moment,
Yeah.
even though Ronnie was like, well, I mean, after like, we're having a conversation because that's what couples do. We talk through things. And oh, you wanted me to make it clear that I don't want you to go on a date? Great. Well, I don't, you know? But like, that's not what Eliza wanted. She didn't want to have a conversation. She didn't want to work through problems with someone. She wanted a grand gesture and she wanted to feel special and she wanted to feel like a queen.
She literally
and
said,
she wanted,
my person will make a scene for me.
yeah. And that's what she wanted.
And Rodney
now,
did not make a scene.
And Rodney didn't make a scene. And I'm curious, if I had one question to Eliza was, what did you learn from this experience? And I would hope that she would say, maybe someone making a scene for me isn't what I actually,
important.
isn't what I
Yeah.
realized I needed. There's definitely a lot more to the story. We'll see if it, how it plays out on social media. But
they definitely completely breezed over the three
I mean,
of them.
I don't think Justin said a word.
I don't think
They
either.
literally could have had a cutout of Justin.
Yeah. Of him making some sort of face.
Yes.
Some expression.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can we talk about how from the start at the rose ceremony, Jesse says, if you are giving someone a rose, it means you see a future with them. Johnny goes up to Victoria, says, I don't know what the future holds, but I know living in the right now. Like from the gate, it was very clear that he was like not understanding the assignment, but still turning it in.
He just said a couple of things. He was just like,
Oh, he said he's scared of commitment.
yeah. He said
Scared
he's
of commitment and scared of one person for the rest of his life.
you
Yeah, 'cause
know,
that
and
means
like he's
he's
saying
done.
that to the ITMs, and then the next scene is him, you know, telling Victoria, you know, that you're the reason I'm ready and things like that. And listen, like I'm not trying to criticize Johnny, you know, in this regard. It's just like it's less of a criticism more than like an observation. It's like an observation from someone who wasn't emotionally invested in that moment, you know, who can see it a little more honestly and a little more objectively. But the reality is that he very much communicated throughout the season his reluctance and his fears of getting engaged and his readiness for getting engaged. It was clearly a big part of his storyline with Gabby, as we talked about. And then at one time he's telling us, America, he's afraid of, you know, commitment, and maybe it's because he has been hurt, like he referenced that. And then he's telling Victoria something completely different. And I understand why, right? You don't want to sound confused or unsure of your feelings, so you play it up. But and I'm not accusing Johnny of lying to Victoria. I'm just saying that those matter. You know, that disconnect matters. He said something at the proposal, which was very kind of sweet, but he said to her, you know, like, you know, he was trying to validate it to Victoria, and he said, you know, I've never felt so sure of myself or confident. Like he basically was saying, you're all the reasons why I feel this way now. And that was very sweet, but objectively, you should want to feel that way on your own. You can't rely on someone else to be the reason that you believe in yourself and the reason you finally have confidence. It's honestly too much pressure on any one relationship. And again, it's a very relatable feeling. This happens in relationships all the time. It's not a criticism to Johnny, but I think as we get into, like, obviously they're no longer together, they broke up. I think it would behoove Johnny to like recognize that and take some accountability that while I'm sure he's upset and he has a right to be upset and he has a right for his feelings to be hurt, that, you know, maybe they just weren't a good match. Maybe it was just as toxic as Victoria claims it was. And we certainly will have questions for Victoria next week when she's here about this relationship and trying to get more specifics on the timeline, and certainly more specifics as to like what exactly was toxic about this relationship. But like, I think Johnny gave us plenty of insight as to why it might have been toxic, because like if Johnny has these things he needs to work on for himself and this kind of this lack of self-confidence, you know, he shouldn't be counting on Victoria to make him feel this way constantly. Because what happens in those situations if Victoria has an issue or a problem with Johnny, and then she critiques him about something that she might not like, even if it's constructive, this is the same person that is, attributing all their confidence to. So if Natalie's my girlfriend and I'm like, I don't feel good about myself, I'm not confident in myself, but having you makes me feel this way, that sounds really nice. But if that same person is the one like, hey, but I need you to do this, and can you please work on this? That's going to sound so heavy. It's going to feel so incredibly heavy because that's the person who's also giving you all your confidence because you claim to have none on your own.
Right. And then you're also going to respond from a place of like feeling super defensive and hurt and like the rug's being pulled out from under you. So not only is it like the catalyst of a conversation, you're also coming into that conversation feeling like an animal that's like backed into a corner. And like that's when I think people say the most like harmful, toxic shit is when they're feeling like really out of control and not able to like emotionally regulate.
Yeah, totally. And so I guess let's just get into obviously what are we calling this? Is it the reunion? Is it the hell? I don't know.
They called it the reunion.
The reunion. Okay.
Yeah.
So at the reunion, Johnny comes out and, and him and his boy Tyler, very sad boy energy, just down in the dumps. And listen, I think Johnny has a right to be, certainly has a right to be sad. And if I'm Johnny, I'd be mad, like if you are in a very serious relationship and it was maybe the most meaningful relationship that you've ever had, and that person leaves and dates someone else, that hurts. That is painful. Like, it sucks. There's no way to slice it. It sucks. Does that mean that the other person did something wrong? Not necessarily. What did we think about what Victoria said in terms of what she accused Johnny of?
I feel like
because basically Johnny was playing sad boy and then questioned Victoria's character. And essentially accused her of cheating, right?
Totally.
Like,
and
he accused her of cheating.
And it's Victoria was given such like a test in that way, just even in the way they structured the filming. The fact that Johnny comes out first, he gets all of his alone time. He gets to kind of tell Jesse / everyone in the audience / America what happened. Suddenly you're thinking of Victoria as this person with low character, as this person who's potentially cheating. It's why her entrance into the soundstage was so bad, because everyone's thinking that she's this bad person. We're believing Johnny because it's the only POV that we've heard.
Sure.
So then she's automatically kind of she has to go she has to try twice as hard to get her point across because we now all have Johnny's words in our heads. But she had good points of, what is the standard amount of time I'm supposed to take before finding someone new. And I honestly wish, and I know they probably couldn't do this,
to finish that thought, what is the appropriate amount of time to find someone new when the person you're in a relationship with you calls you a fucking cunt?
Correct.
I mean, I think everyone knew those were the words that were bleeped out, but those words, yeah.
In case you didn't.
In case you didn't know, Victoria accused Johnny of Johnny calling her a fucking cunt. And Johnny didn't deny it.
He did not. She also said the cooking and cleaning, and he did say to that was a joke.
Yeah.
But
so
the fucking cunt was not a joke.
Yeah, I mean, he did respond to the cooking and cleaning. And listen, like I absolutely plan on asking Victoria like what role she played. I mean, she claimed the relationship was toxic. She didn't sound like she was necessarily blaming him for all the toxic behavior. She was just saying the relationship itself was toxic. And I'd love to ask Victoria how toxic it was and what role she played. And that's the impression I got from Victoria, where she was saying like, we just weren't a fit. Like, I have certain standards that I want, and we didn't have it in this relationship, It's
definitely like I've been in both positions before. I understand Johnny, right? I understand being in a relationship with someone, you break up and immediately they're in a new relationship, or it feels like immediately they're in a new relationship, and that sucks. And I've felt that before. And so I do feel for Johnny, and I do have sympathy for him in that instance. But I also have been in a very toxic and very abusive relationship to where when I got out of that, finally, it took me forever. When I finally got out of that and my next relationship was toxic, not to the extent as the last one, I was very quick to get out of it, because as soon as I saw the signs, I was like, I've told myself that I'm not going to put up with this any longer. So like, I will be getting out. And I left so fast. And I think, I am obviously very good friends with Victoria, and I know about her past. I think she just, when she saw the signs of it being as toxic as it was, she was like, I'm stepping away from this completely.
Mhm.
So I get it.
Yeah, I think some things are just fireable offenses. Like there's not a meeting with HR. It's just like you're gone. Like you
There
stepped
is
on.
no exit interview.
Yeah, it's like you're out of there.
Yeah. It's just like for some people, it's not in their vocabulary. It's just not, like for a lot of men, it's not in their vocabulary to get mad, raise their voice, and call their partners a fucking bitch or a fucking cunt or anything like that. Like that's, a lot of men don't do that. And I met Johnny once. He seems like a nice guy. I think he's well-intentioned, but if he in fact said that, I just don't know. I was honestly surprised by the audience's reaction, at least how it was aired, because when Victoria said that, the audience gave a ooh kind of thing. But like at the end of the day, they seemed to be more Team Johnny than they were Team Victoria. And I'm a little surprised by that.
Let's be honest, because there was a moment when Greg came out and they started talking about their relationship, and it cut to a clip of Caitlin and I looking at each other like, I don't know. And then it cut.
Yeah, you gave some side eye.
No, but I didn't, because they cut back to the wide and you see Caitlin and I both grinning because we were happy for them.
I noticed that. Yeah, I noticed
Oh,
that.
interesting. Yeah.
I was you should have seen Andrew S. and I during this whole thing. It was the most stoic. We were like, like we had the biggest poker faces like known to man. And then I was like, oh, I'm probably being like too above and beyond for like doing a poker face. And then I like watched it and I was like, oh, there she is. Thank God I didn't react.
Cut to Allie in
So
sunglasses with cards.
the show seemed to, like, I thought Victoria did a very good job. Again, like we're friends with them. Obviously,
That's no secret.
It's no secret. I want to be as objective as possible. I think Victoria has some questions to answer next week, and we're going to try to get to the bottom of it.
I will put this out there. We are the mutual friends that introduced Greg and Victoria. So we were. Greg said we met through mutual friends. That was us.
I knew that.
So.
I was like, yay.
Okay, I didn't even know that. But yay.
Yay,
what was I going to say? But the show seemed to, like, where they left it kind of up for debate, right? Was Johnny accuses Victoria of cheating on her, right? Victoria comes out. She's like, absolutely not. Even to the point where Jesse asked Victoria, did you cheat on Johnny? She's like, absolutely not. She goes to Johnny, I didn't cheat on you. Like, she said that at a very confident, very believable, like, I didn't. This is bullshit kind of thing. And then Victoria says to Johnny, like, I told you that I wasn't going to be engaged to anyone if this is what was going on in a relationship. And Johnny seemed to also acknowledge that, right? But then Johnny said, well, I just thought you wouldn't be talking with someone else while we were working on things. And then
she says we took a break.
Yeah. And then Johnny accused her of emotionally cheating, which is like, okay, again, I'm here to say emotionally cheating, physically cheating, there's no difference, I totally agree with Johnny there. But like, where is this timeline, right? And there seems to be a big discrepancy between, when Johnny and Victoria took a break or ended their engagement versus when did Greg and Victoria start talking romantically. We will certainly get the answers from Victoria and Greg
lucky for y'all.
For them.
Lucky for y'all, I do have the receipts. And I feel
Thank
like every
God.
time I'm on here, I do be reading text messages.
Always got a primary source.
Yeah. I am not afraid to read a text.
We're watching it last night, and Nally is like, wait, I think I literally...
I was like, I know we've talked about when they took a break. Like, we've had that conversation before. And so I went through our text messages and I scrolled all the way up, and sure enough, on September 5th, I texted her because we were on the phone earlier that day, and she was like, yeah, I'm like, me and Johnny are doing very good. We're going to, have a conversation about it and just like see what our next step is, because this is just like not very good. So I texted her and I said, how did the conversation go? And she responded with, we're on a break. September 5th, we are on a break. 7 weeks later, I texted her. She told me that she's on her first date with Greg in Rome. 7 weeks. So that is 7 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean that her and Johnny did not speak at all or see each other within that 7 weeks. But they were on a break.
It does mean on September 5th, the breakup proceedings were in full effect.
Yes,
In
court
full
was in
effect.
session.
Yeah,
Court
court
was
was
in
in session. You know, what conversations had between now and then. But yeah, to Natalie's point, 7 weeks.
And
I mean, how long are you supposed to be sidelined? Were they even together for 7 weeks?
And also, again, because the scale is, they got engaged after 3 weeks of dating. So it's like, we're also talking about time here, like we need to
More than
acknowledge that
double.
like the scale is really different, where like,
And Victoria and Greg weren't like, it wasn't a thing that like Nick and I did where you're like FaceTiming and you're texting for weeks and weeks and weeks and then you finally hang out. Like it wasn't like that. It was like they started texting and he's like, as he said on the reunion, like, I would love to just take you for a drink. And they booked a trip to Rome 2 days later. So like,
I'm going to interrogate them very much on the timeline next week. So like we have obviously these receipts. Natalie knows more than I do about this stuff, but rest assured, I will be asking Greg and Victoria very specific questions about when and how it started. I assume they're going to want to answer these questions because I do believe Victoria that she didn't cheat physically or emotionally. And while I understand why Johnny's upset and he has a right to be hurt, and I get why he's mad, that he has a version of his head, you know, to maybe make himself feel better, or maybe not to take accountability for the role he played in this relationship, just not being very compatible or being toxic, as Victoria said. What do we think about the Tyler and Johnny conversation?
trash.
I want to ask Allie and Amanda. Again, we're friends with Greg and Victoria. We have a level of bias, but I'm curious from you ladies, what do you think about that?
There was a lot of Tyler stuff that was cut. Tyler was really trying to be involved in their whole conversation, so I think that's what led to the parking lot.
Sure. Well, I do know, like, obviously, I heard that Tyler brought up Natalie's birthday party and made some like wild accusation. I think Tyler and Johnny are reading way too much Reddit, is my guess. And they said a bunch of like crazy things about this alleged birthday party that I can assure you nothing. And you know, there were like 40 people there. If something was going on, someone would have saw. But yeah, I think, you know, listen, Tyler wants to be there for his boy. But anyways, forgetting about what we didn't see, I'm just asking Allie and Amanda, and maybe Amanda, what did you think about that interaction? Because listen, like Tyler and Johnny, they were very much questioning Victoria's character. You know what type of person she is.
We know the truth.
You chose not to say anything. She chose to spill some tea. And like, again, Johnny, I don't know, like, if you called Victoria a fucking cunt, that's on you, bro. And Victoria saying that on national television, well, just don't call someone a fucking cunt. And don't call your partner who you claim to love or your fiance. Like, that's a zero tolerance policy. I'm sorry. There's no excuse. There's nothing. And again, like, I'm not saying if he said that, I'm not even saying he's a bad guy or he can't learn from it. I am just saying your boy doesn't get to be all like, well, you took the high road by not saying anything and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know what Victoria kind of did, but if you called her a fucking cunt, I'm sorry. Like,
I feel like because as you're saying, like, boys, like with your friends, you're not when your friend is upset, you're not necessarily trying to be objective. You're like there with someone you really fucking care about who's like not doing well. But I think that's where it's so important to know how to validate emotions without letting those emotions then validate like a different reality or all these facts. Because like I think Tyler took it way too far in trying to comfort his friend and trying to be like, yeah, I totally get why you're upset, man. Like he then snowballed it into like questioning Victoria's character, speaking on so many areas where like he did not have any kind of like expertise or knowledge of, but was just going off of like that feeling of like, I want to make you feel I'm on your team, man. So like anything that's like pro you, like I am pro.
Yeah, I mean, he basically had Johnny's word and rumors on the internet to try to like bash Victoria's character. And I think you make a great point, Amanda. He could have easily said, hey man, I'm really proud of you. You were vulnerable. Like, good for you. Like, you stood your ground. Like, it's a tough situation, but like, I'm proud of you, man. Like, he definitely did not have to like try to assassinate Victoria's character for what I can only gather is hearsay and no actual proof.
But shout out to Victoria for saying finally at one point, and I know it seemed a little out of left field because again, so much was cut, but her finally turning to Tyler and saying, this doesn't involve you.
Yeah,
this
like,
isn't
butt
your
out.
relationship. And it was getting to the point where it was just so obnoxious. And it made me question, like, do you just want your 15 minutes or do you want to say, like, well, I know what happened? Like, he didn't need to be part of that. He wasn't in the relationship.
Tyler doesn't know shit. He knows what Johnny has told him, but like he has not been in any room or has seen anything of
Johnny and Victoria
Greg and
or
Victoria.
Greg to
Yeah, I mean, like he
either
knows
of them.
he knows nothing.
Well, I
So
don't
it's
want to
like
hear
for
you
him to
talk
try
about
to-
a party that you weren't even at, is the thing.
Literally, like it's
Yeah.
So I mean, I just wanted to share those because there is proof that there was such a long amount of time from said break to first date with Greg in Rome. There was no overlap. There was no emotional cheating. There was no physical cheating. There was enough time for her to end her relationship with Johnny, mourn that if she needed to, and then be like, hey, Greg, like, let's go hang out. Let's go to Rome.
If, again, like, granted, the text message says we're on a break and who knows, like, we were on a break. And it sounds like maybe more conversations needed to happen between Johnny and Victoria. But
there were 100% more conversations.
Sure,
that
I'm just
happened.
saying, to your point, like 7 weeks in the grand schemes of Bachelor Nation is an eternity.
You have close encounters with the paparazzi. Like, maybe you can speak to this. To me, there was something about the logic about being like, we didn't want to be photographed. Like, we just wanted to go on a date, so we went to Rome. Where I was like, I totally respect the move of having a first date in
No, I
Rome.
don't think it's paparazzi. I think they just didn't want to go to like a bar in New York City where there's tons of Bachelor Nation fans who would be like, bank, Greg and Victoria. So they were like, let's go to Rome to where like I'm sure there's probably less Bachelor Nation fans.
So they have just
But
done-
it's kind of a high risk, high reward because it's like, sure, there's a lower odds of them getting caught, but if they're caught in
But if they
Europe
do get
together,
caught,
and that's
they're in
romantic.
Fucking Rome together.
It's like the older the
Yeah.
city, the like hotter the romance.
We
and,
can't get like an Airbnb somewhere and make some at-home cocktails?
They had been, I mean, like,
Listen, I don't buy if Greg and Victoria come in next week and we're just like, we only went to Rome to avoid being caught. Like, I don't believe that. What I believe is kind of a very crazy romantic gesture that was like supported by being like, well, and like people also probably will be less likely to see us.
Totally.
no, I mean, like, my sister and her now fiance like met over the internet and he was like, hey, like, would love to meet you. I'll fly you out to Mexico. And they went and met in Mexico. So some people just like are like, let's go and do this thing
Yeah,
and like
totally,
let's
yeah.
be romantic and like have fun and go somewhere different.
I have too
and,
much
like, not
anxiety for that.
Stress. I know. But
Oh,
she
no,
also was like,
but it's
these-
because it's crazy, right? It is crazy.
I don't like
It
being
turned
trapped
out-
in a 3.5-hour improv class. You think I want to be trapped in a hotel with someone? Absolutely not.
I mean, the way Natalie and I met was crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like we both went to New
What if
York
you
and was just
hated
like
each
hoping the
other?
other wouldn't murder each other.
What
you
if
know,
you
like
did not get along? What if the vibes were so off?
totally. Yeah.
you spend $500 and buy a ticket home. Like
Yeah.
you take the risk
Oh.
for sure. But I think they had spent so much, like the first couple days that they were there, I think they were so on edge and so nervous, and they didn't really go out in Rome because they were like, you know, we're just so anxious about this. We don't want photos to come out and whatnot. And then they were like, we aren't enjoying ourselves. Like, this is not fun to constantly be looking over our shoulders. Like, we're not doing anything wrong. Me and Johnny are well and done over. This is new. Like, let's just go out. Who gives a fuck? And so that's why the photos initially came out, because they were like, fuck it. Like, let's just go have fun in Rome.
And we can't live life according to the standards of our ex and like trying to like tiptoe around their
yeah,
feelings.
like,
Or-
come
or
on.
Bachelor
Or
Nation,
Bachelor
Yeah.
Nation
you know? So
judging
I
you.
think-
Like,
Which is
I think they're trying to do their best to like protect the relationship in the real world while still hoping that everyone doesn't hate them or accuse her of cheating or things like that. So, but we will have them both in studio next week to answer all these questions.
I will say ciao is a great tattoo to get because it means hello and goodbye. So it fits no matter what happens.
ciao bella.
I thought because he said when Greg said on the show like it means hi, I thought he said hot, and I was like, well, that's bold.
Yeah.
Like two hot people getting the word hot tattooed to their bodies. But then I realized I just wasn't paying attention.
Did he say hi? I still thought he said hot.
he said hi. I just wasn't
No,
listening.
I
It just-
genuinely thought he said hot. He didn't?
No, it's hi.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought he was
But,
making
yeah,
a
it's-
joke. Like I know it's not actually the word for hot, but I thought he was being funny.
I think it just sounded like hot, but it's actually.
Speaking of two hot people, should we get into this the engagement very quickly?
Oh yeah, Brandon and Serene got engaged.
Yay!
Nick's like, okay.
I mean, like we knew that all
Yes.
along. Like from the second we saw them, we knew they were so in love.
I mean, they seem like a lovely couple. They seem like great people. Brandon was on our show. I've talked to him one other time. Seems like a really stand-up guy. I guess my only honest question is, like, I mean, Brandon certainly waxes poetic all the time. Can he maintain this? I mean, let's just be real. He is infusing these very descriptive words, and he is very good at articulating his feelings. And he's
words of
He is-
affirming. His words are affirming.
But like, what if he doesn't keep that up?
I feel
Or
like
will he keep it?
I
That's a
think
lot to keep
Serene will
up.
be fine with that though. Like Serene's so confident and stable and independent. I think Serene's the type of person who looks at a relationship as like the icing on the cake, not as a need per se. So I think she would be there for him in the same way he is for her. If he has a down day or a down period of life or he can't be that emotive, I think she's going to know that they have a strong enough foundation where, again, I don't think she's like holding on to that as the one reason she can get through her day. It's a great addition to her life. I don't think she's going to fall apart if she doesn't have it.
I love how Johnny referred to himself as a hopeless romantic.
I was like, Mr.
Yeah,
won't get
like-
engaged. Like,
I'm
what?
worried about getting engaged because it means I'm
again,
done.
Like, I'm not trying to shit on Johnny. Like, this is not a Victoria versus Johnny. Like, I met him. He seems like a nice, swell guy. But like, I don't know if he's quite at the hopeless romantic level that he thinks he is.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like, his proposal was, every king needs their queen.
Oh
Will you
my
marry me?
God.
yeah, that was rough.
I was upset by that. I was not a fan. And
So, like, and maybe this speaks to Johnny, swell guy. Maybe you aren't in fact ready for an engagement, and that's okay. That's totally fine.
I think to your point about like, can Brandon maintain it? It's also like at the beginning of a relationship, you don't have that shared history. You don't have all the memories, these experiences, these times when like things have gotten difficult and you've seen each other stand by one another. So I think it will be, my hope is that like his like poetic promises for the future will be replaced by like actual shared history and things that they endure as a couple and get through. So that way, even though like, the word, you can't say the same, like you run out of words. There's only so
His
many
actions
amazing
will
words.
meet his words.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we wish them the best. They are a lovely couple,
Wait.
both as people and just like, honestly, they're hot. So
I had a really quick question, which is just how did people feel about the like Serene Brooke Russell?
I love it.
What?
Love.
Natalie loved it.
When how
I
Brandon
don't
would
care.
always say like Serene Brooke Russell, will you accept
Oh.
this rose? Also, how do we feel about their kisses? Because they were macking at the rose ceremony.
That is one I know the last time I recapped an episode, I talked about how I struggle watching people kiss on TV and like Tyler and Brittany kind of but Brandon and Serene, that is like a rom-com movie kiss. Like they've got a very good, it doesn't gross me out. I'm not like, oh my God, that tongue just went way too. I'm
Which,
like,
all right, we'll play a quick game before we wrap up. Which Bachelor couple sex tape would you want to watch? And which one would you just politely decline to see?
Kira and Romeo.
All right, so
For
we got
watch or decline?
Michael and
She's like, I
Danielle.
would be a porn star in another life. Didn't she say that in the like first
I'm sure
episode
she did.
was
I'm
on?
sure.
Is there would we watch their porno? Would we watch their sex tape?
Brandon and Serene's?
No, absolutely not.
I think it would
Brandon
be
and
so
Serene.
boring.
I
So
would feel
boring and
like I was
loving.
violating their
Do
trust.
you think it'd be boring?
No,
I think it's straight love making. There's no.
it would be
no
too
one's-
intimate for me. I feel like they must have like really passionate, intimate, tender sex, and I don't want to. I don't want to peek in on
You don't
that.
think they ever just fuck? They're just straight love making all the time.
I don't know.
I feel bad even talking about it. They're just too pure.
yeah. That's
Michael
what
A
it
and
is.
Danielle, would you watch their sex tape?
No,
We can't
Your-
have that out
your
there.
dad?
Poor James.
The number of times.
Whose sex tape would you watch?
Jill and Jacobs.
Victoria and Greg. Woo, woo, woo.
Oh, Jill and Jacobs is a great answer. I would say like Aaron and Genevieve's. Would you not watch that?
Oh, yeah, a little fight.
Ew.
Aaron and Genevieve.
Angry sex.
Well, I mean,
I'm disgusted.
Allie Natalie feels just as strongly about Aaron as you do, Allie, just in the very opposite direction.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. I hope you all have a very, very happy and safe holiday season. Travel safe with your family if you are traveling. Be kind to one another, all that fun stuff. Thank you for listening. We love you. Reminder that there is no Going Deeper episode this week. Spend time with your family. If you are in need for some Viall Files content, I'm sure there's an episode you haven't listened to. Go back and check it out. There's the update episode that dropped a few weeks ago. There's some Ask Nicks out there. We will be back next week. Obviously, Ask Nick on Monday, Victoria and Greg on Wednesday, but there's a good chance we're going to drop that early because we know you guys are anxious to hear it. So look for that maybe sometime Tuesday. And then on Thursday for Going Deeper, the one and only Katie Maloney from Vanderpump to talk about all the Vanderpump drama, their upcoming new season. Lots to get into with her. And I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot of other topics. Oh, reminder, go watch Jonah Hill's new movie, Stutz. Is it Stutz? It's a documentary about his therapist. We're going to discuss it more in later episodes. Allie, Amanda, watch it. Like everyone who's listening, you should watch it for your own mental health. You should watch. There's some great takeaways, some great tools on just general happiness and like getting over adversity. A lot of things they talk about on that movie. We talk about in the show, but his therapist does a great job of like articulating how to utilize these tools. I just highly recommend you guys check it out.
It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is very impressive.
It's so good.
It's incredible.
Really good.
So check it out. I want to talk more about it. I'm going to watch it like 3 more times. I think there's some really practical, useful tools in it. Lots to get into next week. I hope you join us. We'll see you next week. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays to everyone, even if you don't celebrate Thanksgiving, whatever. Anything else, babe?
We're thankful for
Anything
you
else
and
What?
I was saying we're thankful for everyone, and also if you got a turkey dump situation on your hands, if you're going through a breakup, the breakup playlist is out. Check out the Viall Files Instagram.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching, but before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos, like our Monday's Ask Nick, especially if you're looking for some relationship stories and relationship advice, as well as our Wednesday interviews with your favorite celebrities and experts. See you next time.